Welcome to Verified Live. Straight to the White House. Donald Trump is speaking. Let's rejoin the situation there and bring the sound and pictures up.
2 weeks ago, you could have done fine. You would have had a country. It's very sad to watch this. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. It's so, everyone thought it was going to be the reverse. I didn't think so. And I was telling them, you gotta do something. You gotta negotiate. And at the end, last minute, they said, no, we're not going to do that, and they got hit. Remember 60 days, and then came the 60. 61 is going to become a very famous number. That was one hell of a hit. That first hit, that was one hell of a hit. Not sustainable, to be honest. That's where it ended. It ended on the first night. Yes.
Is it too late, though? Do you think it's too late to now?
Really, nothing's too late. The only thing too late is Powell. Powell's too late. Too late, Powell.
Have the Iranians reached out to you, Mr. President?
What?
Have the Iranians reached out to you?
Yes.
And what did you say?
I said it's very late. I said it's very late to be talking. We may meet. It's. I don't know. There's a big difference between now and a week ago, right? Big difference.
You said we may meet. Mr. Powell said we may meet. This is about Vance and with Trump possibly going to talk.
Look, it's about anybody. They even suggested they come to the White House. It's a big difference. But they've suggested that they come to the White House. That's, courageous, but, it's like not easy for them to do. But they suggest, because I can't go now because of what's going on. I had to come back early from the G7, which was terrific, by the way, in Canada. Really terrific. Good people.
Is there a possibility of next week or sooner that
Well, I don't know how much longer it's going to go on. I mean, they're totally defenseless. They have no air defense whatsoever. We've totally captured. We've totally captured the air, Brian.
Yeah, Mr. President, you've been fairly compassionate towards the Iranians.
I have been. It's human. The human beings. I know a lot of people from Iran, from New York, from Washington, mostly from New York. They're incredible people. They're smart. They're energetic. They can be difficult, but so can you. No, they're great people. They're smart people. And those people are getting the hell beat out of them now. And it's really a shame. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. It's another one. Russia, Ukraine is so stupid. Would have never happened if I was president. You guys agree with that, right? Would have never happened if I was president. Putin would have never done it. And I spoke to him yesterday, and I said, he actually offered to help mediate. I said, do me a favor. Mediate your own. Let's mediate Russia first, okay? I said, Vladimir, let's mediate Russia first. You can worry about this later. But I think that's going to work out, too. But so many people have been killed. The big thing with that one is far more people are dead than have been reported in the Ukraine, Russia. Many, many more people. A building falls down, they say nobody was hurt. It's like ridiculous.
Unconditional surrender mean?
Well, you know what it means. Unconditional surrender. Two very simple words. Very simple. Unconditional surrender. That means I've had it. Okay, I've had it. I give up. No more. Then we go blow up all the all the nuclear stuff that's all over the place there. No, they had bad intentions. For 40 years they've been saying death to America, death to Israel, death to anybody else that they didn't like. They were bullies. They were schoolyard bullies. And now they're not bullies anymore, but we'll see what happens. Look, nothing's finished until it's finished. War is very complex. A lot of bad things can happen. A lot of turns are made. So I don't know. I wouldn't say that we won anything yet. I would say that we sure as hell made a lot of progress. And we'll see. The next week is going to be very big. Maybe less than a week. Maybe less. But is there anybody here that said it would be okay to have a hostile, very, zealots really, but to have a hostile country have a nuclear weapon that could destroy 25 miles, but much more than that, could destroy other nations just by the breeze blowing the dust. That dust blows to other nations and they get decimated. This is just not a threat you can have. And we've been threatened by Iran for many years. If you go back and look at my history, if you go back 15 years, I was saying we cannot let Iran get a nuclear weapon. I've been saying it for a long time, and I mean it more now than I ever meant it. Yeah.
Mr. President, a question on deportations, Mr. President. You said last week that changes would be coming for farmers who've seen a lot of the workers they rely on taken away. But then DHS said this week that worksite enforcement would remain in place.
Well,
that it's a cornerstone. So what's your message to farmers?
Everybody's right. Look, we got to get the bad people out of here first, and we're doing that. We're taking them out by the thousands. Murderers, drug dealers, people that are mentally insane from insane asylums. What they gave to us, fellas, they gave. Oh, do we have anybody in here that's a member of the? No, I don't think so. You've known all these people for a long time. Any illegal immigrants in here now? If they were, they'll find out.
Right.
They'll be checking you. You won't believe it. Your whole life will be destroyed because of this press conference. Watch. They'll destroy these people. I didn't want to tell them that before they stood out, but they'll end up being, he's a so-and-so. This one is from you know where. Don't worry. I think you're going to be okay.
Sure.
I'll be right behind you.
Thank you.
Far behind you. I'll be right behind you. Now, look, we have to take care of our farmers. We have to take care of people that run leisure, hotels. I mean, we have to take care of them. But most importantly, we have to get the criminals out of our country. And Biden let in thousands and 11,888 murderers. Many of them murdered more than one person. Can you believe it? Many, almost 50% of them murdered more than one person. He let them into our country. They emptied out the jails of countries from all over the world, from the Congo, from Venezuela, from all over the place. They emptied out the jails, many of them. I would. If I were running one of the countries, I would have emptied out my prison population into the U.S., and many countries did. And we're getting them out, okay? We're getting them out. Thank you very much. Let's watch this. Brian, go ahead. Are you okay?
I'm just going to follow up on the immigration real quickly.
Yeah.
Can you comment on the impact of the Trump card and how much revenue that's produced?
Yeah, we have a thing called the Trump card. This has not been done before or thought of. And for $5 million, this is usually people that would either be working for companies like Apple, I think is going to buy a lot of them, because they can't get people into the country. You know, if you come in through the southern border, you have no problem. You can be a criminal, you can be a drug dealer, and you have no problem. But if you go and graduate #1 in your class from a great school, you can't get a job because there's no access to getting it. You can't get a green card. So we're going to sell that to people, in some cases wealthy, in some cases not wealthy. They'll be paid for by universities.
Well, Donald Trump taking a range of questions just on the key topic of the hour. He was asked and he said, I can't say whether the US will strike Iran. He said they had bad intentions over 40 years. I don't know how much longer it's going to go on. He also said that Iran had suggested coming to the White House. He said they are keen to negotiate, but then made the point that negotiations had already lasted 60 days on date, 61 they hit. And interesting, there was a line in the middle there where he said he'd spoken to Vladimir Putin yesterday, and Putin again offering to help mediate, and he said, mediate your own war, the war on Ukraine. And that was interesting because the president faced criticism when he first posted that Vladimir Putin had offered to mediate this particular crisis in the Middle East. He was asked about what he meant by yesterday's post, unconditional surrender, and he said, well, I've had it. We need to blow up all the nuclear stuff, and then talked again about the regime, schoolyard bullies for decades. You cannot have a hostile country with nuclear weapons. So he is taking a range of questions from a range of reporters. So let's just duck back in.
They just go over to the auto pen and sign whatever the hell they wanted to sign. Because say what you want about Biden. He wasn't for open borders. He wasn't for transgender for everybody. He wasn't for men playing in women's sports. But he has no idea what the hell. He has no idea. And they were very upset. They wanted Bernie Sanders. And after about a week of this guy, they said, wait a minute, we just hit gold. This guy has no clue. He'll do anything we tell him. And then they realized they don't even have to get permission. They just go up to the auto pen. That's a subversion. That's a takeover of our government. And you people ought to start looking at it. That's a takeover. Not only did they cheat, I guess you saw yesterday came out with China and the license plates, tens of thousands of cards. They used those cards to vote on the second election, my second, the one 2020. because as everybody here knows, I won that election by a lot. But the only good thing I can say is this is a much more historic term than I think I could have had as a second term. This is a much more historic election, and now we're going to put up a beautiful flagpole, and we're going to put up a flag, and I hope you enjoy it, and let's see how real people work. These are real people. You're not real people. Your job is too easy. Okay? Thank you very much.
President, how tall is the flagpole?
Well, Donald Trump, he is there to put up 2 new flagpoles. He was posting on social media earlier in the day talking about what that actually meant, talking about the type of flagpoles. But all the key questions really being asked about the Middle East conflict. One of the answers, he said, they are totally defenceless. They have no air defences whatsoever. And making the point there is a big difference between now and a week ago. Of course, it was Friday when the conflict really started, the first strikes from Israel. Well, we'll come away. He will continue, I assume, to take a few more questions. But if there's anything significant, we'll obviously return to that. Let's just recap where we are as you join us here on Verified Live, because Iran's supreme leader earlier in the day warned Washington of irreparable consequences if the US becomes directly involved in Israel's military campaign against Tehran. It is understood President Trump is considering joining the attacks on Iran's nuclear sites. In the last half an hour or so, Israel's defense minister has said the Air Force jets had destroyed Iran's internal security headquarters. Today, of course, is day 6 of this rapidly escalating crisis. Well, let's talk to our correspondents in a moment. We'll be in Jerusalem with Ione Wells, but let's talk first to our North America correspondent, Nomia Iqbal. And Nomia, he was asked questions about it and you heard the answers, but today or tomorrow is very much decision time for the president, isn't it?
It is, but to be honest, we didn't really get any clarity from him whatsoever. He claims that the Iranians have reached out to him, but saying it's too late to talk, which is interesting considering that Donald Trump is always saying that he wants to make a deal, wants to negotiate. He's also saying that the Iranians want to come to the White House. You know, we don't know if that is in case what the Iranians want to do, but the world is waiting to see what President Trump is going to do. There are reports here that the administration is leaning towards involvement rather than diplomacy, and that would involve sending US troops to the region with those bunker buster bombs to destroy Iran's nuclear capabilities deep underground. But make no mistake, if that is indeed what Donald Trump does, it will be a defining moment in his presidency, a seismic moment in his presidency. Remember, this is the man who has long campaigned for no wars, no foreign intervention. He did so back in May in Saudi Arabia, saying the era of foreign intervention is over. And I'm just looking at some of his old tweets, this one from back in 2013, where he says, remember, I predicted a long time ago that President Obama will attack Iran because of his inability to negotiate properly, not skilled. And he's also other tweets from the past in which he's criticised Obama, accusing him of trying to start a war with Iran. And now we're in a position where Donald Trump isn't really saying which way he's going to go. And that really does confound his base, his MAGA base, who largely elected him on his platform of no wars. So we'll see. We don't know what the US plans to do. We're nowhere closer to understanding it following that press conference by the president.
Nomia, we will leave it there for now. We have a busy hour, so we will talk again in the coming hours. Nomia Iqbal there in Washington. Let's go to Jerusalem. Ione Wells is there. And Ione, are you hearing any sort of clues from the Netanyahu government about suggesting whether the US are going to join with Israel, and also reflect for us on where the public mood is, given what we've seen over the last 6 days?
Well, the main update we've had from the Israeli government today is the Defense Minister, Israel Katz, saying that they are now going to gradually reopen the economy, including opening, for example, workplaces, but also allowing gatherings again, calling this a victory over Iran. Now, this suggests that the government is feeling more confident about what it has achieved so far. We know that they've been targeting, for example, Iran's military capacities, its missile capacities in particular. But he added that the intense fighting would continue until threats are removed. Now, the question is, what threats is he referring to, and what does removal look like in particular for Israel? Because if he is referring to completely eradicating Iran's nuclear capacity, then the general consensus is that they couldn't do that without some kind of US involvement, because of the fact that some of their nuclear program is in this site, Fordo, which is deep under a mountain, underground, and could only really be struck were US weapons to get involved to help out with that. Or is threats referring to the Iranian leadership itself, in which case, again, is that something that they would require the US government support for? These are all questions which are still essentially unanswered. We don't yet know exactly what Israel's endgame is. Now, in terms of your second point about where Israeli public opinion is, we have had early polls, one from Tel Aviv University and Hebrew University. Again, the usual caveats, this is just one poll, but saying that there is higher support for the government's strikes against Iran among Israeli Jews, 83% saying they support the actions, as opposed to Arab Israelis, only 12% of Arab Israelis saying that they support the government's actions. So there are suggestions here that this is something which is dividing the country depending on which community you may be speaking to, and that's certainly something that's been echoed among conversations I've been having. There are some who see damage that has been inflicted but still back the government in what it is doing. There are others, though, who feel like this is only causing more casualties, more war, more deaths, and that is not something they are particularly happy with.